Hello and welcome back to the American Experience. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. I don't know about you guys, but this past week has been just one of craziness. I mean, kind of. Kind of. I mean, this Dow Jones went down 900 points yesterday. Uh, we've got the riots going on in Chicago and Portland. We've got Jimmy Kimmel supposedly stating that Antifa is not a real organization, which is a lie even from Antifa people. Even Antifa people know they're in an organization. I've watched documentaries on this by mainstream news, and they all agree, yeah, Antifa's a real organization. So Jimmy Kimmel's just lying because that's how he is. And look, we can respect that, but that's how he is. We got to talk about Venezuela, the possibility of a war with Venezuela, possibility of, I don't think it's going to get into World War III there, but hey, a regional conflict, never good. Conflicts are never good. Then we're going to talk about Gaza ceasefire. So get into your seats, folks. Get a nice cup of whatever you like. Maybe it's orange juice. Maybe it's coffee. For me, it's water, just because I got to hydrate as I do this show. Just get a drink, sit down, get ready for the show, because it's going to be a banger, all right? So I'm just looking at my papers here, and first thing I'm seeing, Gaza Peace Plan, all right? Not Gaza Peace Plan exactly, Gaza ceasefire all over the news right now. I don't know about you, but if you've been paying attention to the news, this Gaza ceasefire is pretty big news. So it's been brokered between Trump and it's been brokered by Trump between Israel and Hamas. For those of you who don't know, I'm expecting everyone here knows who Israel and Hamas is, but hey, maybe you're just a random guy off of the internet who found the channel. Awesome. Please click that like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell. But for context, if you want to know, there is a terrorist group called Hamas, and there is a country called Israel, and they've been in a war since 2023, and it's been a pretty bad war, and tons of issues with that, and wars are never great. And when I mean that, I mean it for real. I'm not like some of those fake America First people. By the way, I am America First, but let me explain this. There are some Republicans right now that are essentially saying they're America First, but they're still supporting foreign countries fighting foreign wars. They're not America First. Lindsey Graham is not America First. Marco Rubio is kind of not America First. A lot of, Ben Shapiro is not America First. Ben Shapiro is fine with billions of dollars going to Israel, and he's fine with us sending weapons to Ukraine. He has no issue with that. He is not America First, okay? Now, it doesn't mean we have to say Ben is horrible. We can agree with Ben on some stuff. That's fine. But we do have to realize that Ben is not on the same side of us when it comes to foreign policy, okay? Ben's a bit different from us. Ben is a Reagan-era conservative. He's really a neocon to some degree. And that's just who he is. I can respect that, but don't try to call yourself America First when you support giving weapons to Israel and support giving weapons to Ukraine, okay? I think we can all agree Ben Shapiro is not very much America First. That's a bit of a rant there. But let's get back to track, okay? I'm against foreign conflicts, and when I mean that, I mean that. All of my friends know I'm against these America supporting these foreign wars that really do not matter for us. And maybe I'll do a special later on why war is bad, on the military-industrial complex. I might do that later. But right now, I really want to get into the news. So I need to stop my yapping and get to the news, okay? All right. First and foremost, Gaza ceasefire, right? Ceasefire has been agreed upon. So this is from CNN. I'm not even a fan of mainstream news. I just use them sometimes if there's an article and it's like, okay, well, it's going to give me some of the facts about the Gaza ceasefire, so I'll use it. But here it is, Gaza ceasefire. Yeah, Gaza ceasefire. I guess Israelis are still awaiting release of hostages as Palestinians return home to Gaza. This is breaking news. This is what they have. Rally in Israel. Israelis are rallying in Tel Aviv as families of hostages held in Gaza await the return of their loved ones. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and daughter Ivanka Trump made remarks to the crowd, which broke out at times in chants of "Thank you, Trump." The U.S. president is expected to be in the region on Monday. The timing, a source said the release of hostages should come as early as overnight Sunday into Monday local time. Nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees in Israel will also be freed. In Gaza, tens of thousands of Palestinians are returning home in Gaza as a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas entered its second day. Many found only ruins, while local authorities say scores of bodies have been pulled from rubble. Some aid is entering the territory under the terms of agreement, but the scale was not immediately clear. All right, those are the facts. And from what I read at, that just seems to be true. I mean, I'm not a mainstream news guy. I don't really even read CNN. But if they have an article over breaking news, this is what we're covering about Israel ceasefire, okay, they're probably just doing facts. You know, it's just in the moment facts. That doesn't mean you trust CNN with everything, right? Like, just saying. But with something like this, I kind of trust them to some degree. Maybe that's naive of me, maybe that's not. But really what's going on in Israel right now, or not in Israel, in the Mideast, for those of you, or the Levant, for those of you who don't know, Mideast, Levant, those are other terms for that particular section of the Middle East. That little section, also known as Israel, also known as Palestine, also known by like a bajillion different names. What's going on is hopefully finally peace in the region for a bit. Because as we know, if you're a Christian, yeah, there's not really going to be a lot of peace, right? There's always going to be war between Israel and Arabs, as said in the Bible. That doesn't mean we have to be on Israel's side. That's just a fact. That's what's going to happen, right? That's what's going to happen. We got to deal with it. And in fact, in Revelation, it states that the coming of the Antichrist will be heralded by the Antichrist making an agreement with Israel, some sort of peace agreement. I don't know. And I'm not saying Trump's the Antichrist here. I'm just, hey, pointing some stuff out. This conflict is going to last for a while. And most likely, we're going to see a ceasefire for a couple months. Then there's going to be, I don't know, then there's going to be renewed stuff. Renewed interest in, Israel's going to have renewed interest in bombing Gaza. And Hamas is going to get more mad. And it's just going to be the cycle of death repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated over and over and over again, as it has been since large scale since 1948, and even prior to that, when you had all these kibbutzes and stuff being established by Zionist groups in the Levant prior to World War II. That was actually a big thing. They were establishing it, and they're like smuggling in Jews illegally into the against the wishes of the British government. And yeah, it was a big thing. I've read books on it. It was pretty dramatic, stuff like that. There's a tons of historical fiction books written about it, Christian historical fiction books. Anyways, so I just hope personally the ceasefire works for at least a bit, a few years at least. I'm hoping a year or two, just so that maybe those Palestinians can get out of Gaza or they can get somewhere. Because at the end of the day, I really don't want 5-year-old children being bombed to bits by military. Our government seems to be sending taxpayer money to. I'm really not in support of that, and maybe I'll go over my journey from being pro-Israel to not being so pro-Israel in a future video episode. But that's kind of that's going on there. Not much more than that. That's just what's going on in Gaza. Another break in the war. It's been a forever war, really. It's been a war going on since prior to 1948, but really started heating up in 1948 when the state of Israel was established by the UN. And it's just been a forever war in that area. It's just been destabilized. Anyways, I'm done talking about that. It gets so depressing. Every week it's like something about Israel and Israel doing this, Israel doing that. Hamas does this, Hamas does that. And the news, you're just like, oh, you're like, why are we involved over there? This is why I don't like foreign policy, guys. It's just because it's so annoying. It's always like, and it's actually kind of, yeah, it's just like always about foreign countries in the news. It's never about America. And if it is about America, you can bet like it's not really the big thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just ranting here. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just an opinion, guys. Just an opinion. All right. Next thing on the news cycle, Venezuela. So Venezuela's opposition party leader recently got the Nobel Peace Prize and actually dedicated it to Trump, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Hold up. Going to all. Yeah. Reuters, Venezuela's opposition leader. I'm going to botch this name. Machado wins Nobel Peace Prize, dedicates to Trump. This is from Reuters. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize on Friday for fighting dictatorship in the country and dedicated the award in part to U.S. President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly insisted he deserved it. Machado, a 58-year-old industrial engineer who lives in hiding, was blocked in 2024 by Venezuela's courts from running for president and thus challenged President Nicolas Maduro, who has been in power since 2013. Guess she said, I don't really want to say that. She said OMG, but because I know some of my listeners are Christians, I'm not going to say that. She said something, a profanity against God, and then said, I have no words. Machado told the secretary of the award body, Christiane Berg Harviken, in a phone call which the Nobel Committee posted on social media. I thank you so much, but I hope you understand this is a movement. This is an achievement of a whole society. I am just one person. I certainly do not deserve it, she added. And then she dedicated this prize to Donald Trump and all that. So, hope Trump is happy about finally getting his Peace Prize. I hope he's happy. Finally getting his Peace Prize. But that's not really the big thing we're talking about today. Because while she got her Peace Prize, bigger stuff has been going on. U.S. Navy has been amassing ships near the coastline of Venezuela. This is from, I'm looking at, oh, sorry, I need to go to news. There we go. Okay, I'm on the news. Wall Street Journal, watch how the U.S. military is amassing combat power near Venezuela. It's a video, but I'm not going to show the video, so I'm just going to describe what it says in the description. The Pentagon is moving some of its most advanced units and weapons closer to Venezuela as tensions run high between President Trump and Nicolas Maduro. And a lot of that seems to stem from the drug trade that comes from Venezuela. And obviously, I admit that there is drugs coming from Venezuela. I get that. I also understand that we just spent a couple billion in border security in the big, beautiful bill that was specifically meant to prevent drugs from getting in the country. So the question I have with Donald Trump, because he's been doing all these these strikes on boats coming out of Venezuela who might or might not have drug members on them, is he's hitting them. He's like, oh, we just stopped drugs from coming in. That's awesome. But did we need to do that? Because that missile cost taxpayer money. That missile, either the money from that missile got paid by us getting into debt, or it came from taxpayers' money, or it came from increasing the money supply through inflation. So that's what I'm worried about, is I'm just worrying about why do we need to do this? Is this necessary? Because we spent a couple $2 billion on border security and we gave tons of money to ICE. Obviously, their job is to prevent drugs from getting into the country. Why do we then need to go on the offensive? We can just play the defensive. And I know some people might say, well, your best defense is an offense. Not really. I mean, kind of, but not really. It's not necessary. That's the thing. It's not necessary. If we just had good border security, this wouldn't be a problem. Maybe I'm naive, but that seems to be my view. And then it just seems weird, too, that all our ships are amassing around Venezuela. It appears that we may invade Venezuela soon, which Russia has spoken out against, and Venezuela says that could lead to destabilization in the region, which I agree with. Last time we were involved in that area, I believe, was the Iran Contra affair, although I could be incorrect. It might have been Grenada. Yeah, so that's not going to be good if there's a war there. It seems to be like the military industrial complex and all that are really pushing for a war because Trump didn't give in to their demands for the 12-day war, really. And he hasn't really been giving in to their demands at time with going full out against Ukraine. So it seems like he might be giving in to the neocons and the military industrial complex now with Venezuela under the pretense of this is America first. Well, newsflash, it's not going to be America first because it's going to be a military operation that's not necessary and is only going to get our country further into debt. Is going to destabilize South America, which is the last thing we need. The region south of us destabilized, more destabilized. It's already destabilized enough. We don't need it more destabilized. And it's just frankly not necessary, in my opinion. So I hope we don't go to war with Venezuela. I hope we don't. But if we do, I'll be your man. I'll be the guy on the show giving you the updates on the war in Venezuela and all of that. By the way, a note for everyone, Venezuela has a lot of oil. So, hey, just saying that big oil could be involved in this push too, right? They want more oil, right? Same with Iraq. They wanted more oil there too. So, war happens. I'll be on the front lines against this war. War doesn't happen. Awesome. Said my piece. We're done. Next thing we're gonna go over. Man, I can't talk today, can I? Is the chaos that's been taking over American cities in Portland and Chicago, especially. Trump has decided to send a National Guard into those cities to clean them up, which, considering that they are very high crime places, I think that's legit. I'm going to look up Chicago crime statistics quickly. Yeah, actually, huh. It's been decreasing. Interesting. Well, it's seen an 11% decrease. Okay. Okay. So here's what's happened with Chicago, it turns out. Um, Violent crime has actually been decreasing in Chicago from what I'm reading here. Although that could be because they moved a lot of violent crimes into misdemeanor categories. That could be true. Regardless, it's still obvious Chicago's a pretty bad city when it comes to crime. They're really bad. Let's see how Chicago ranks in crime statistics. Chicago crime ranking dates. Yeah, okay, obviously Chicago has a higher crime rate than Illinois. List of cities by just looking here. Obviously, California cities are the first ones, are some of the biggest ones on the list. I'm just looking there. Illinois. Chicago's 83rd. Okay. So it's not really that up there actually. Well, it's kind of up there. It's above Las Vegas. It's above Reno. It's above St. Louis, Kansas City, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So Detroit even. So it's actually kind of up there. Baltimore. Yeah, it's actually up there quite a bit, actually, now that I think about it. The other cities that were higher than it were like cities in California, so Democrat run states. But yeah, so that doesn't, all that confirms is more that these Democrat run cities are really looking bad because, I mean, it's looking bad for Chicago, man. It really is. Anyway, so Chicago, Trump sent a National Guard to clean it up. And from what I've heard about DC, DC has seen better crime rates when it comes to that. It's really been cleaned up by Trump getting the National Guard in there, and it's constitutional. And then I also decided that, and then also Trump decided to get troops in Chicago and stuff. Oh, partly not just to clean up the crime, but also because of a lot of the attacks on ICE detention centers, which have gotten ridiculous. So this is just an example of what's going on in Chicago against ICE agents. There's right now a federal case or a complaint against two individuals who used their vehicles to assault, impede, and interfere with the work of federal agents in Chicago. This is an official government document. I'll try to put a link in the description below. Again, links don't really work out on my channel, so I'll just put the URL. Here we go. I'm just going to read it quickly. Chicago. Two individuals have been charged in federal court with using their weapons to assault, impede, and interfere with the work of federal agents. The two people are Marimar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. Has anyone noticed how all these like people who are against ICE facilities seem to have like Mexican names? I don't know about you, but like I'm noticing their pattern. Hey, maybe they're illegals, maybe they're legally here, but they all seem to be very anti-ICE. This is what they're accused of. They use their vehicles to strike a vehicle being driven by an agent of U.S. Customs of ICE on Saturday morning near the intersection of West 39th Street and South Kedzie Avenue on Chicago's southwest side. Two other CBP agents were also in the government vehicle. After striking the agents' vehicles, the defendants' vehicles boxed into agents' vehicles, the complaint states. The agent was unable to move his vehicle and exited the car, at which point he fired approximately 5 yards from a service weapon at Martinez, the complaint states. And then also, it's not in the charge, but I saw another. So obviously that's bad, but also Martinez also had a gun on her. I saw that in other reports. And yeah, so that's just a little snippet of what these guys have to deal with. And then you look at these videos of these ICE detention centers in Portland and Chicago, and they're just like, it looks like a war zone. You have paintball guns being used on these people who, some of them are being peaceful, some of them are not. Obviously, they're all Antifa linked, so if that tells you anything, yeah. And it's just chaos over there. It's so bad. It's so bad. I really do hope they get National Guard in there to clear stuff up like that, because that stuff shouldn't just not be allowed. I'm sorry, but if you're a peaceful protester, go stand by the side of the street, or on the other side, protest there, or get away from those protests, because we don't want you arrested. We want the troublemakers who are making issues arrested. So that's my recommendation to anyone who might be involved in those protests. If you're listening to this show, get away from those protests that are turning violent and instead form your own protest that's peaceful, okay? Just putting that out there. Besides that, there's not much else to do. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of gone through all the news and all of that. I'm going to go over something really quickly because I think this is actually kind of cool. Alex Jones, you guys probably heard InfoWars, the infamous Alex Jones. Well, a federal judge allowed them to finally take away his website, InfoWars, from him. And he, in response, made an app, the Alex Jones Network app. And that app reached, I think it's like number 1 is number 1 in the news category ahead of apps like Reddit. So it's not number 1 app being downloaded around the world, being downloaded overall around the world. It's the number 1 app being downloaded by people in the news category. It's the number 1 app in the news category being downloaded. That's a win for Alex, and I'm happy about that. That's a win. As someone who's listened to Alex, I really hope they don't take away InfoWars from him. But if they do, he already says he's going to use the app, and he already has studios from Rumble and all that. This is all from him and his show that he could instantly go to. And he says that's what's going to happen if they take over InfoWars. So I hope they don't take over InfoWars. He probably hopes they don't take over InfoWars. But if they do, he's got a backup plan, which is awesome. So we're going to leave it at that, folks. I know today's a shorter podcast. That's just because we got to the news. We stayed on the news. I didn't rant. And it was a good show. It was to the point, straightforward, awesome. I'm probably not going to do shows like this very often because I like to get into nuance and all that. But I felt like the topics we're covering today, they weren't not nuanced, but I think they were simple enough I didn't have to go deep into them. So I hope all of you guys are going to have a great day. More episodes coming out soon, believe me. Book reviews. I'm going to try to get a book list, recommended book reading list started up soon. Because I think knowing which books to read and stuff will be heavily beneficial to people. Hope all of you guys have a great day. Stay safe, stay free. This is the American Experience, broadcasting on the greatest country on God's green earth. Till next time, have a good one, folks.